So welcome everybody to tonight's episode of Stories of a Colorful World, Authors Conversations. If you're returning, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome and thank you for joining us. So Stories of a Colorful World is an online children's bookstore. And what is unique about us is that our collection of books that we carry feature diverse images and stories of BIPOC characters, so Black, Indigenous, people of color. But more specifically, they're written by authors from those same diverse groups. And so one of the things that was very important to us, myself, Vanessa Mitchell, and Kanika Mobley, so I'm sorry I didn't say that, but we are the co-founders of Stories of a Colorful World. And so one of the things that was important to us was not only to sell books that feature BIPOC characters, but to make sure that we're highlighting the voices of the authors who have written these books. And so that's what we've used this platform, the Authors Conversations, to do. And so we love to invite authors, new authors, well-established authors, but we love to bring them on to hear more about the books that they have out, the projects that they're working on, but also their journey and experiences in being authors. And then lastly, what diversity means to them. And so we're very excited today because we have with us Ashley Franklin. Ashley has joined us, and Ashley is the author of Not Quite Snow White and Better Together, Cinderella. So thank you, Ashley, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
And let's see. Want to know about me?
Yes, so I will kick it to you and just let you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I like to say that I write, I teach, and I mom. And necessarily it doesn't have to go in that order. On any given day, I'm doing all three at once. And it is a chaotically wonderful mess of a life. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I am the mom of two young boys. They're ages 7 and 9, and they are doing virtual school right now. And that is an experience all within itself right now, thanks to COVID. So, but I'm also teaching. I'm an online teacher. So I teach for two universities, actually. I teach for Southern New Hampshire University and Aurora University. I primarily teach English literature classes, but a lot of English composition classes as well. And also, I teach an online strategies for student success class. That's my favorite. And as far as writing goes, I primarily write children's literature. I have one short story in an anthology for adults, and that chronicles the birth of my son, who was 9. He was a premature infant, and the story just goes about how it's unexpected. And it's actually, I have it here. I can show you all. It's in What We Didn't Expect. So that is my first and only adult short.
Oh, nice. So as you're as an educator and an author, like as a child, were you drawn to like reading and writing?
I was probably the most introverted child you would ever meet in life. Like, I was one of those kids when they got in trouble, like my parents would be like, "Well, how do we even punish you? You're always inside reading, and like, what do we do?" So just growing up to be a writer, it's always something I wanted to be. I was someone who would practice conversations because speaking terrified me for the most part. Like, let's have a school project. You're going to present it in front of the class. And I'm like, oh no, that was my absolute nightmare. Writing has always been my comfort zone. It's always been how I've known how to express myself in the best possible way. And, even in those times when I just need an outlet, even now as an adult, I still journal. And so writing has always been there for me. And I feel so blessed that I'm able to actually call it my career now.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So what was it about books that drew you in as a child?
Just the adventures, just the idea that you can be in your safe space, but at the same time, you can be anywhere in the world with anybody because a book can transform you and just take you away to anywhere. I could be, read something science fiction, or I could just read, somewhere I've never been before, like the bayou or something. Just learn about different cultures and people, personalities. It's like people watching to the extreme. I love that.
I love your enthusiasm for like reading, and as someone who used to teach like kindergartners, it was like that was like what really drew me to like teaching, and especially that young age, to see them light up like that just to get a hold of a book or like learn to read.
Yes. It's funny learning to read. My youngest son, who is now 7, he was reading in preschool, and he started reading out of anger, actually, because his older brother was reading. So he would like angrily take a book and go in the corner and be like, I don't know what it says. I'm like, it will come with time, honey. And I like to say he learned to rage read because he just sat there until he got it. He would sit in on his brother's homework and lessons and try to figure it out too. So he was in preschool reading it. It was the funniest thing. It's like people assume like, you're a writer. You had him read early. That I had nothing to do with that. That was his spiteful personality. He read on his own.
Listen, sometimes it's different means to get to the same goal. Sometimes it's whatever it takes. What was it that really inspired you to create your first book, like Not Quite Snow White?
Oh, so many different things. My drive to write actually was inspired by my children. I always wanted to, get them books where they saw themselves in them. Not necessarily did it have to be a young Black Muslim boy. No, but that would be nice. Could it be a young Black girl? Yeah, girl books, boy books, or is it just a book with a good message?
Mhm.
I did not see a lot of that when they were younger, and that bothered me. And as someone with, an English degree or two, I was like, well, I've always liked writing, so maybe I could be someone to help change this. And that was really my inspiration. But it also has me on a time limit because they've already told me, Mommy, you have these 2 books with girls out. Dad, you started writing because of us, and you don't have any boy books out. So they're already coming at my neck real hard. So I have to fix that.
I was wondering if they,
Yeah.
what their response was.
Yeah. Yeah. They are my harshest critics. Like I always run my stories past my boys, and they'll be straight up with me. I'll be like, what do you think of this story? And they'll be like, no, no,
Mhm.
do better. I'm like, wow, okay. Kind of hurt my feelings a little bit.
Right.
But they're honest, and that's really what you want. And I feel fortunate because they're tough, but I know it's from a place of love. And it's like I have the built-in audience. They're really the audience I want to reach. So I know that even if I am writing a girl character, if they get something out of it too, that's what I really want. I don't want to write books that are like, okay, well, only this kind of specific person can relate to it. That's not what I want. Of course, I want the representation there. I want that visual. I want the experience. I want it to resonate. But I want also that universal appeal like, hey, this is really about kindness and everybody can benefit from that.
Mhm. Mhm. So it's funny you talk about your kids because one of the things that always comes up when we interview authors that have kids is the kids are the best audience, agents,
Right.
editors, you don't have to hire them. They're already there, but they prove to be the most effective in help
Are.
authors come out with it, because they're hard critics, which is good, right? You know,
Right.
they're probably closest to it as children as well.
Yeah. Like they're excited about the whole thing until they're not. Like, it takes about 2 years for a picture book to actually come out. And so they're excited for like a few months. Then by the time the book comes out, I'm like, my book is here. And they're like, that's nice.
Right.
Seen the book, Mom. Thank you.
That is too funny. Well, you mentioned not quite Snow White, but just for those that may not be familiar with the book, what is the concept of the book?
So this is not quite Snow White. It was illustrated by the amazing Ebony Glenn. And it figures, what is that? Excuse me, it features a young Black girl named Tamika. Tamika can act, she can dance, she can sing. She's always been the leading role in her school plays. And she loves princesses. And in Not Quite Snow White, you'll see that she finally gets to audition for the role of Snow White. However, her classmates kind of shake her up a little bit because they question how fit she is for the role. Tamika is chubby, she is tall, and of course, she's Black. And this isn't something that her peers are used to seeing when they think of or they've seen other portrayals of Snow White. And so it's really not something that they are able to grasp. And it really rattles Tamika because in her mind, she can do or be anything or anyone. And so the book really goes through her dealing with those emotions and her support system and her parents and what helps her to overcome this. And we get to see, does she finally bring up the courage again? Does she get her confidence back to actually audition for the role?
I absolutely love like the book, the messaging, everything about like the images. Like Ebony Glenn did an amazing job bringing your words to life and bringing Tamika to life, but really just thinking about like the real life of like as a kid. And when you have people who think you're too much or too much of something because you shine so brightly, like we talk about all the time, for Stories of a Colorful World, like really wanting to to support parents who want to raise like bold, brave, and brilliant children. But like that comes with other people pouring in their insecurities into them, and then how do our children deal with those things? And so like the messaging, and also just seeing the parents come together and show so much love. Like I just love that.
That was very important to me as I was writing the story, having a Black family together, coming together for the sake of the child, and just so much positivity and the affirmations, and just being able to see them pour into her, seeing how observant they were just by her actions, and just that's not portrayed in a lot of picture books. And so I needed that. I wanted my children to see that, and I wanted other children to be able to see that as well.
Yeah. So, I'm looking at the imagery and the illustrations, right? And they're so real. So what was in your thought process in terms of how Tamika was illustrated? So how did you communicate with the illustrator to make sure that she came out the way you had intended? Her and all the other characters.
Oh my goodness. Well, Ebony was spot on in the beginning, so I didn't have to add a lot of direction. When she first sent the initial sketches, I squealed. I was so excited. Like, she has ballies. She has ballies. Because I was that young girl that had the ballies all in my hair and everything too. I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is it. And she was brown skin. That was also important to me. And the fact that I did ask her to make Tamika a little bit chunkier than she was in the initial sketches. And of course there was some concern, like, well, we don't want to promote, obesity. We're not promoting obesity. We're promoting the fact that there are all different types of body shapes and sizes, and no body type or size is better than another. And there are chunky children in the world. I was a chunky child. And, everyone deserves that representation. And so, having Tamika comment on the fact that, and her parents, she is chubby. Her parents turn that around. You're chubby enough. Like, you're fine. It's your body and you own it. Just that was important to me. And that did come across. And, as soon as I asked her to make it a little bit chubbier, it was a done deal. To me, Tamika was absolutely perfect. Her bold personality is apparent, in my opinion, from the illustrations. Another thing that was important to me, I wanted to make sure that the children in the background that were making the comments were not all the same gender or the same race.
Right.
I did not want this to even have a whiff of this being an us versus them, or this type of person versus that type of person. Because truthfully, misinformation can come from any source. And that's really all the children were. I don't feel like they were being bullies intentionally. I don't feel like they were out to hurt Tamika in the story, because they weren't. They are misinformed, because if the image is all that they've seen are white princesses, how are they going to know any better if no one has told them, if no one has shown them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you see as like your greatest hope for kids to take away from this book?
I tend to always sign this book with a similar phrase of one of two ways. I either sign it with, "You're just enough of all the right stuff," or I sign it with, "Never dim your light because others are afraid to see you shine." And those are my two takeaways that I hope children get from reading this story. To live proudly, to live boldly in who they are, and they don't have to compromise any part of themselves because others don't share their vision.
Yeah, I think that definitely comes across. And I love the idea, right, that you normalize that we all come different shades, sizes. We're all different with different talents, and we should all love that about ourselves. And when we can embrace that about ourselves, we can allow others to embrace that about us. I mean, I think the book is incredibly relevant for this day and age. And even for adults. I mean, I think that this is what we want to give the message to kids at a young age, so that they can grow up as adults, loving each other, but loving one another and appreciating the differences that we all have. So absolutely, thank you for that. So you kind of talked about diverse representation and wanting to make sure that Tamika was brown, and wanting to make sure that, the kids in the other characters were not all of the same race, same gender. So what does diverse representation specifically in children's literature mean to you?
Oh, Lord, that's a big question. To me, in children's literature, diverse representation really covers every component of gender, sexuality, any type of lifestyle that a person can embody. It is body type, it is mental state, it is, in addition to mental state, also neurodivergence. I think there needs to be a lot more of that in children's literature. I just think for every type of body and characteristic and personality, if it's out there, it should be in children's literature. Everyone deserves to see themselves. Everyone deserves to have that validation.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you had Not Quite Snow White, but then you also were part of the anthology, like Once Upon an Eid. And what was that like?
Scary. It was scary. And so here's the anthology right here. And I want to tell you why this was so scary for me. Because, I'm like, oh be a part of this. And it's like, it's middle grade. Like, I've never written anything middle grade in my entire life. I was, and and there's the authors in this book, they're such heavy hitters. And I was like, me? Okay, I can't show up and like, I can't fumble. I can't fumble. I have to deliver on this. I was so nervous in this. It was a wonderful experience. The editors, they were so gracious with their feedback and their direction. It was really like almost a family experience because just sharing our ideas, just taking a preview of each other's stories, realizing there was so much food in each of our stories. It really touching. It was touching, and I feel so fortunate that I was able to contribute to this. And my story turned out not too shabby, if I don't say.
Was your process for creating much different?
Yes, I actually outlined. I am not much of an outliner, but I was like, I absolutely have to have a plan with this because, picture books, 500 or so words. I'm like, oh, I have a lot more room than that to work with for this story. So that was actually exciting to me. I knew the type of character I wanted. That's part of my process. I usually come up with the character first and be like, okay, well, what are they going to do? I knew I wanted a character with anxiety because I have anxiety. And I was like, that should be shown. That's important too. I'm not the only one in the world with this. So let's have that in the story. I wanted to depict someone with financial struggles without it being so on the nose. And it becomes apparent because you see her mom, patching up the holes in her brother's jeans. There's a thrift store in there. And so you get the representation, but it's not like they were poor. They were so very poor and it was terrible. They have joy. So I really just wanted to show another aspect of just financial diversity. Is that a thing? If it's not, it is now because I just said it.
It is a thing now.
Yes, it is now a thing. They said so.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, like overall, it was an amazing experience, and I'm just, I get tickled every time I see it because I was like, I did that, and I always say, do it scared, and that's something that actually I got from my son. He said he was having nightmares for a while, and he got up. And my 9-year-old, and he was like, Mommy, remember those nightmares I was having? I got through it. And I was like, oh, so what did you do? It's like, I just did it scared. It's like, yes, that is it. That is gold. Thank you, son. And so that was one of my things that I did scared. And I am proud that, I didn't back away from it because, I haven't done this type of writing before. No, thank you. I try now not to say no. That's not my job. My job is to always try and to put things out there. And that's something that I have learned as a writer. My job is to go for the opportunities. I'll either get a yes or a no. And that's really all there is to it.
Isn't that life? Either you get a yes or a no. It's 50-50.
It's that simple. We complicate it, but it's one or two ways.
Yep. At least try. At least try. So what, talking about that, so what were in your journey in being an author and being a full-time author, what have been the biggest joys, and then what have been the biggest challenges throughout this journey?
Oh, the biggest joys definitely are being able to know that my books are getting to children. I sometimes, okay, my favorite thing, honestly, is when I'm tagged on Instagram and it's little kids dressed up in little princess costumes and they're holding my book. Oh my goodness. I love that. That is the absolute best thing ever to me because they don't say like, oh, I'm Snow White. They're like, I'm Tamika. And I'm like, oh, I'm changing things. Look at the babies. And even if they do dress up and they say that, I'm this princess or that princess, they are reassured that they can be that princess because they're Black, and they now know there's nothing wrong with that. You can be the Black Cinderella, the Black Snow White, the Black whoever it is you want to be. And one thing that was funny about the timing of this book was the announcement of Ariel being cast
Mhm.
and being Black. And I was like, man, we couldn't have timed that better.
Sometimes the universe just works out like that. I love it. So did you always know that you were going to like bring Tamika back for another book?
No. Nothing is certain in this journey. And honestly, for Not Quite Snow White, I tried to put everything I could in that book. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I was like, I want these themes and that themes. I want this message and that. In case I'm a one-hit wonder, they're gonna know. I put my foot in this book. But I always hoped, that Tamika had such a big personality that we would be able to see her again. And so, once the book started selling and, picking up steam, I did reach out to my editor, like, hey, so people kind of like her. What can we do? And she's like, all right, well, she's like, I'll get back to you and let you know as soon as I can give you a green light and you with a yay or. And she got back to me and I was so excited. I was like, yes, more princesses. So definitely excited. And of course, it's what I wanted. It was always that hope. You always keep that hope that there can be more. There can be more. And with princesses, they're everywhere. So if she got to be one princess, why can't she be the rest of them too? Let's keep it going. So of course, that's what I wanted, deep down. But I was also prepared to, all right, well, maybe I'll just, maybe this is her time.
Oh, I love
Oh my goodness. Oh my
I love it. So what was your journey like in getting your books published? Like, what is that experience? When we think about other authors that are maybe starting out their journey, thinking about, putting pen to paper.
It takes a lot of patience. It's a lot of hurry up and wait in publishing. Um, I had no idea what I was doing when I started, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like, I had bought a couple of books. Are they even in? I don't even know if they're published anymore, but it's like those writing books, and it has like the authors and the different types of publishers and contests and things you can enter in. So I bought one of those, and I was like, wow, this is overwhelming. So because it absolutely was. And so I just started Googling, and I found a couple of helpful websites like Kidlit 411, and they had a wealth of information on there. So that really got me started. I was like, okay, there's a community of writers. Okay, that's helpful. So, writing can be such a solitary experience. And so for anyone starting out, I would say get past that as soon as you possibly can, because you need a village pretty much to be able to sound off, to encourage you, because they're going to be more no's than yeses, and it might take a while depending on how you want to go. I always knew that I wanted to be traditionally published, so I knew that I was going to have to find an agent, and just that alone can take some people years and years, and that is very intimidating. And I would say to someone starting off, I would say, be patient, be understanding that the feedback that you get from an agent or an editor, it's not personal. It's so easy to internalize. They said this about me. but it's not about you. It's about your work. And the best feedback that you get, it might actually hurt your feelings a little bit because it's learning. You never stop learning when it comes to your writing and perfecting your craft. And I would just say always be open-minded, always be willing to learn, and always just be a good person because it will come back to you.
I love that. I love that. And so you are releasing a new book soon.
I am.
What we heard.
Better Together, Cinderella. Tamika is back, and there's some babies. So in this one, we didn't really get to see Tamika and her princess element a lot. So we'll get to see more of that in Better Together, Cinderella. We get to see her twin siblings, Asher and Sophia. So it's a little boy and a little girl. In the first book, we're introduced to Tamika always being in the spotlight. It's a little bit hard to be in the spotlight when you have younger siblings. So there's some definite adjustments that she goes through and trying to figure out her place and how to still be the star that she truly is. So she channels one of her other favorite princesses, Cinderella, and they go to a family ball, but things don't quite work out as well as she expects. So I love this book. You get to see it's more princessy. There's even a carriage in it. Just
I love it.
It's adorable. It's adorable, I promise. And we get to know more of Tamika's personality outside of the theater. We get to see her best friend. We get to see her uncle Derek. So we get more family, more friends, more Tamika time.
So you talked earlier about, pulling some of you into the books and some of your characteristics. So are there other characteristics that you pull from your own life or from your children that show up in your books?
Yeah, I'm a big sister. So some of those feelings that Tamika had, like all these bottles and these babies, those are some feelings that I had as a big sister. I am 9 years older than my next sister. And so I was pretty sure, like, all right, I am in here. It is me. And it was like, wait, what is this? It's she is like my best friend now, but we got off to a shaky start. I'm not even gonna lie. And that comes across in the book, just knowing that your family has enough love for you and whoever else is added to it. And that's really the message that I wanted to get across for that. We're better together. So her shine isn't diminished. She just got to learn to glow with some others for a while.
I love that. So for your own kids, do you have any like story time rituals that you have with them?
We do story time. We actually do a couple different versions of story time. It depends on how they feel. Sometimes we'll just do a regular book, but a lot of the times we will start off a story and we'll take turns telling it. So I'll start off and then I never know where these stories are going to end up. And it's chaotic for a bedtime story. I'm not even going to lie. Sometimes, my 7-year-old will get a hold of the story and there's suddenly jetpacks and robots and laser fights. I'm like,
of course.
It started off with rabbits. Like, what is going on here? What are you doing, son? But it's one of my favorite parts of the day because we just get to bond and working on their storytelling skills, but they don't know, don't tell them that.
Right.
I feel like it's something that they'll probably remember later in life as a good memory. It brings me so much joy.
Yeah. Always the teacher. The parents are always the teacher. They don't even know that the lessons are being taught. The parents are the teacher. So one of the things that we love to do each month for our bookstore is we have a theme of the month. And so that's when we take the opportunity to introduce new books to our collection, but centered around a theme. And so for August, the theme has been friendship. Friendship, sorry. So is there a word, a theme, or a phrase that represents friendship to you?
I would say be the friend who observes.
Mm.
I feel like that's very important. So many times people just listen to respond, but they don't really take the time to really absorb what that person is saying, let it resonate, and really give that advice that they may need. Notice if that person even needs advice, because sometimes our friends, they just want to vent, you know? So being observant, I think that is the best type of friend that you can be, because you're not focused on your needs, you're really focused on what that friend needs.
Oh, that's so real. I mean, even as an adult, right? Be the friend that listens and be an active listener, right? Don't be so quick to respond. Oh,
Mhm.
that's a good one. I like that.
Thank you.
Love it. So we know you have Better Together, Cinderella, coming out soon. Is there anything else that you're also working on?
Oh, what am I allowed to talk about? Y'all know how those NDA
Right.
goes.
I was about to say that's
Like,
always the challenge.
um, oh, Xaviers Voice is coming out in 2023. That has been announced, so I can talk about that. And it's a boy character, so I can get my kids off my back. Yes.
At
And
least for now.
at least for now. At least for now. Yes. And so I'm excited for that one because he clearly has anxiety in this story. He's very anxious kid who loves drawing superheroes. And so one day his notebook gets ruined, and a kind friend comes and helps him save his notebook because it's rained on it. And he's so excited, but he doesn't know how to be a friend. And so the next day, he gets the bright idea to imitate the superheroes he's been drawing to try to be a friend. Because who wouldn't want to be friends with a superhero? But his characters that he's been drawing are so absolutely aggravating. Aggravating, he's like a screech owl, like, like that's not, nobody wants to be friends with that, sir. Nobody wants that. And so it's really trying to figure out you don't have to wear a mask or be someone you're not to be a good friend. So it's a good friendship book that again is about being who you are
Mhm, mhm.
and just thriving off of that. The friend for you will come to you. So.
Let's see, that's perfect. Our theme.
Right,
We didn't
right.
even plan that. We didn't even plan it. So we want to make sure that people know where to find your books, where to find what's coming out, when it's coming out, any new projects you're working on. So how can people find you, follow you, support you?
I am on Instagram. I am Ashley Franklin Wright. I'm also on Facebook under the same, you can find me under the same thing, Ashley Franklin Wright. I'm on Twitter at Different Ashley. And I'm on my own website, ashleyfranklinwrights.com.
Good. And we'll make sure that we add those to the comments so folks can make sure that they know where to find you. And we have been carrying your books. So we're excited about that. And we're excited about the books coming out. And I will say, Kanika and I do in-person events, and we've been trying to do a lot more, both in New York and Atlanta. And your books get great reception from both parents.
Good to hear.
And children. So it is meant to be out in the world. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, and if you are on Instagram, you may have seen that I am doing a pre-order giveaway. And so if you pre-order and send an email of proof of your pre-order to teamtamika@gmail.com, you will have a chance to win a Tamika doll
Ooh.
and a private virtual reading by me of Better Together, Cinderella.
That is awesome. And we'll definitely make sure we add that to the comments and have that posted on our site so people know like how they can order, how they can pre-order and enter into that giveaway. That's amazing.
I'm excited. September the 7th, Better Together Cinderella. Mark it on your calendars.
Absolutely. Go ahead and pre-order it today, right now. Go ahead right now. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today. It has definitely been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
And we can't wait to carry Better Together Cinderella. And thank you for those of you who have joined tonight and those of you who are watching afterwards. You can find Not Quite Snow White, like Vanessa said. We already have it on our website, so you can go and order it right now if you want to. Oh my goodness, and enjoy the story of Tamika, so you'll be ready for Better Together Cinderella. So go ahead to the website, www.storiesofacolorfulworld.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter, where you'll hear about, as Vanessa said, we do in-person events, oftentimes in Atlanta and in New York. So we're always letting people know like where we are, but you can always find our books and our collections on our website. Again, that's www.storiesofacolorfulworld.com. And again, go ahead and make sure you go ahead and pre-order Better Together Cinderella. Again, we had it in our latest blog post as something you will definitely want to get for September.
And Tamika, go ahead and give them again, just so we say it one more time. Tell them where they can go to pre-order.
To pre-order from your favorite bookstore. Pre-order from them. Pre-order. Just get it done. Get it done. Send the proof of your pre-order. Just email it to teamtamika@gmail.com. That's simple.
Absolutely. And so our goal is to continue to highlight books with BIPOC characters written by BIPOC authors. And thank you again, Ashley, for joining us today. And thank you again for everybody who joined on. All right. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.